You've probably seen thousands of horses in your life. On TV, at the races, maybe even at a farm down the road. And almost every single one of them had metal shoes nailed to their feet. It looks completely normal, right? It's just what horses need. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Those metal shoes might be doing something to your horse that you never expected. And I don't mean obvious damage. I mean something happening deep inside, every single step, every single day. Something that most horse owners have no idea about. And once you hear it, you won't be able to look at a horse the same way again. But before we get to that, let's start with what's actually happening underneath that hoof. Because the hoof is not just a foot, it's something far more important and far more interesting than most people realize. 1. The hoof is secretly a heart. Here's the part that blew my mind when I first learned it. A horse has no muscles below the knee. None.
So how does the blood get all the way down to the hoof and back up to the body?
That's a long way against gravity. The answer is the hoof itself. Every single time a horse puts weight on its foot, the hoof expands slightly. That expansion creates a pumping action, pushing blood back up the leg. It's basically a second heart at the bottom of each leg. Horses have 4 of them. This is called the hoof pump, or the digital cushion mechanism, and it works beautifully as long as the hoof is allowed to flex and move naturally. The moment you restrict that movement, you restrict the blood flow. And restricted blood flow, over time, causes pain, inflammation, and degeneration of the tissues inside the hoof. So now you're probably wondering, does a metal horseshoe restrict that movement? Hold on, we'll get there. First, let's talk about something most people completely overlook. 2. Movement is medicine, and most horses don't get enough. In the wild, horses walk anywhere from 16 to 25 miles a day. Not trotting, not galloping, just walking. Slowly, constantly, searching for food and water across wide open spaces. Their entire biology, including their hooves, evolved around that constant movement. Now think about the average domestic horse. It spends 20 to 22 hours a day standing in a stall, walking maybe half a mile. Some days, none at all. That lack of movement doesn't just make horses restless or bored. It directly impacts hoof health. Without regular movement, blood circulation in the legs decreases, the hoof pump barely activates, and the structures inside the hoof start to deteriorate. Horses develop conditions like thrush, white line disease, and hoof contraction. Conditions that often get blamed on diet or bacteria, when the real culprit is simply not moving enough. The fix? More turnout time, more walking, more freedom to move. Sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful things you can do for a horse's long-term health. And there's another factor that plays an even bigger role than most people realize. 3. Overweight horses and the silent damage nobody talks about. If movement is medicine, then excess weight is poison. And this is where a lot of horse owners are unknowingly doing serious harm. A fat horse doesn't just look heavy. Excess body weight puts enormous mechanical stress on the hooves with every single step. Over time, that stress causes the laminar tissue inside the hoof to stretch and weaken. That's the tissue that holds the coffin bone in place. When it starts to give way, you're looking at laminitis, one of the most painful and devastating conditions a horse can develop. In severe cases, the coffin bone can rotate or sink, and the horse may never recover fully. The scary part? The signs are subtle at first. A little heat in the hoof, a slight change in the way the horse stands.
Many owners miss it entirely,
until the damage is already done. The main cause of overweight in domestic horses is almost always diet, specifically too much sugar. Rich grass, grain-heavy feeds, sweet treats. A horse's digestive system was designed for something very different. Which brings us to what might be the most important factor of all. 4. The diet that destroys from the inside out. A horse's natural diet is simple. Dry, fibrous grass, occasionally some shrubs, herbs, or bark. Low sugar, high fiber. Consumed slowly over many hours. What most domestic horses eat looks nothing like that. They get lush, irrigated pasture that's been fertilized to grow fast and green. Fast-growing grass is packed with non-structural carbohydrates, basically sugar. Add grain, molasses-coated feeds, and sugary treats, and you've created a metabolic disaster waiting to happen. High sugar intake raises insulin levels in horses.
Elevated insulin, even without the horse being clinically diabetic, causes direct damage to the laminar tissue inside the hoof. That's not a theory. It's been demonstrated in peer-reviewed research. You can feed a horse to laminitis without ever overfeeding on calories. The closer a horse's diet is to what it would naturally eat in the wild, the better its hooves will be. Dry hay over rich pasture. Forage over grain. Slow feeders that mimic hours of grazing instead of dumping a full meal in one shot. These small changes can make an enormous difference, not just to the hooves, but to the whole horse. And now, finally, we need to talk about the shoes. 5. To shoe or not to shoe? The real answer. Here's the controversial part, and I'm going to give you the honest answer, not the popular one. The barefoot horse movement has grown a lot over the last 2 decades. There are real, documented benefits to going shoeless. Without metal shoes, the hoof can flex fully. The hoof pump works at maximum efficiency, blood flow improves, and the hoof actually strengthens over time as it self-trims and adapts to the terrain. Many horses that transition properly to barefoot end up with genuinely healthier feet than they had with shoes. But, and this is a big but, not every horse and not every situation is suited for barefoot. A horse working daily on hard gravel, rocky trails, or abrasive terrain may need protection that a bare hoof simply can't provide, at least not without years of conditioning. A horse doing high-impact sport on hard ground, barrel racing, jumping, competitive driving, may need the added traction and support of a shoe. A horse with a damaged or deformed hoof may need corrective shoeing to stay sound. In these cases, shoes aren't harmful, they're necessary. The good news? Traditional metal shoes are no longer the only option. Polyurethane boots that you can put on and take off as needed. Glue-on composite shoes that allow more hoof flex than metal. Rubber pads that absorb shock without restricting movement. These alternatives are growing in popularity, and for many horses, they offer the best of both worlds. Protection when needed, flexibility always. The real answer isn't barefoot versus shod. It's about understanding your individual horse, its workload, its environment, its hoof quality, and making the most informed decision you can. So here's what we've covered. The hoof isn't just a foot, it's a pump, and it needs to move to do its job. Horses need real movement every day, not just standing in a stall. Excess weight, especially from high-sugar diets, is one of the biggest silent killers of hoof health. Going barefoot has real benefits, but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And today,
there are more options than ever to keep horses comfortable and sound without defaulting to traditional metal shoes. If any of this surprised you, or if you've been dealing with hoof issues with your own horse, drop a comment down below. Tell me what you're dealing with. I read everything. If you found this useful, hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds and it helps more people find this information. And if you want more content like this, real, practical horse health information without the fluff, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.